West Michigan. This is Tap In Podcast. My name is Pamela Keim from Grand Tap Media. I'm here with Stephanie Keim from Grow Business Today, and we have a very special author for you today. And I just interviewed him on Grand Tap Media Business TV, but I'm going to talk to him. He brought a new book that he has out. He's got several books out that I've been reading. But this book he has out is The Undercover Millionaire, and he interviewed 18 self-made millionaires, and he's going to share some tips on what they did to become millionaires and what you need to do to do that so you become a millionaire. So I want to welcome Stephanie Kolakowski. Hey, how are you, dear?
Hey, what's going on, Pam? Thanks for having me.
It's good, it's good. Okay, and Mark, thank you so much for taking time on your busy day. You know, we had a great interview at the castle, and so I'm sure I want to share your book with everyone because you had so many great tips. So, all right, so let's just get started. I mean, where did you find these people? Did they like show up at your doorstep and you found 18 people that were they give you did they tell you we're millionaires? I mean, how did you find these people? So tell us a little bit about why you did this book and why people need to learn from these people. And they're very quiet, correct?
They're very quiet. It was very hard to find these people. And thanks for having me on. I like your hat. That looks good.
Thanks.
Anyway, so it was very hard to find these people because they are, like the title of the book, they are undercover millionaires. And they don't really flaunt their wealth, and they slide under the radar. So finding those people, one, is a hard part, and two, getting them to open up and share their message, because the book didn't start out, as I told you the other day, as to be a book. It just started out to be, if I could get these super wealthy, smart, healthy, happy people to share their message with me, kind of their success secrets, maybe I could grow myself and become smarter, if you will.
Yeah, really.
Anyway, so I dug into it. I chased them down all over. They're all over the United States, the people that I chose. And to define what self-made is, would be they didn't marry into it. They didn't have trust funds. They didn't win the lotto. And they came from very humble beginnings. They just didn't, they started with zero. And so their message is so real for today, for anybody that thinks that they can't become something really super. These people proved it, and they showed and shared with me their success secrets. And that's part of the title of the book, is 18 self-made, what I came to call million experts. They share their success secrets that anyone can use. And these people ranged from 33 to 76 years old. They're all over the United States. And the hardest part was getting them to stop their busy lives for, 9-10 hours of interviews that I had with each one of them, that was to just kind of cull out and squeeze the best information I could get that would help the widest range of people out there. And that's kind of how I got it.
Okay, so when you talk about, talk real quickly, I'm jumping in here. When you talked about busy, what kind of busy are we talking here? Because we all feel like we're busy, but we're not really accomplishing what we need to accomplish. We're spinning our wheels, or we think what we're doing is work, and it's really not. Can you define, as you've interviewed these people, what is a packed day of working?
Yeah, let me break down one really important point that they drove home for me, because everybody thinks they're busy.
Right.
Okay? And when you see these people's schedules, we're sitting around taking naps all day compared to what these people do. All right. These people are really the definition of busy. However, the best way I came to describe it in the book, and I think it's like chapter 17 or something, is focus on focus. So what they did is they do one thing at a time, really slow, for a long period of time, till that one thing gets done. They don't have 27 different things going on at the same time. In fact, a couple of them define that they never take on more than 2 things at one time until they finish it. Some of them said they do one thing until they finish it, because otherwise the whole world is so distracted constantly. Just think about your mind, how it works. Oh, what am I wearing tomorrow? Well, what am I having for dinner tonight? So in one of my other books, I described that as the average mind has about 57,000 self-conversations a day with ourselves, okay? And so it's really important when you're having those conversations to make sure that what you're telling yourself is really positive and productive, and that you're working on things that are really going to have an impact. The million expert said, stop working on all the stuff that doesn't work. Seems so simple.
Right.
And
But
then
what
they
do you
said,
know? How do you know what that is? I mean, look, we deal with Stephanie and I. Oh, here's an example. Right, Chris, I can't see myself.
Yeah. Are you making money?
that's
With
it
your
right there.
time, because honestly, right, your time, does it equate to money? Does it equate to growth? Does it equate to resource with your family? What do you define as important? And carving out that focus to make sure it equals all those things is super important. My noni and my papi were Italian immigrants, and I remember that's one of the first things it started really with simplicity, right? Of like, how do you define your core values and who you are first as a family? So faith, family, service. And when you're making money, how are you investing and taking care of your family? And then how are you giving back?
I'm not showing when I'm talking. I just stay at the corner. So put it back to the street. Sorry.
Oh, she's talking. It's
I'm
okay.
Sorry. I didn't mean to. I meant to cover my mic. I'm looking.
So if you're
at
not doing
technical
any of
issues.
those things, if you're not getting any of those things out of it, it's probably not worth the time, right?
Well,
Life is
as I'm
distracting.
doing this podcast, I'm watching Chris put it together from my end, and I'm trying to make sure it all works out. And you guys are talking, so I'm covering my mic. I'm so sorry to try to make it work. But because I'm trying to get the right, he's trying to get the right look, and I'm trying to get the right look. So that's perfect, Chris. All right, and I agree with you, Stephanie. You know, if you're accomplishing, but sometimes we can delude ourselves of what we're really accomplishing, or is that the big thing that we should be tackling? That we should be tackling harder things. You know how you feel like you get a couple of easy stuff done, you're like, oh, but you really, do these people really assess of what is really important and the hardest, and they get those done first? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. So did you find when you were interviewing, I'm really curious, like the common denominator. I think one of the biggest lessons in my adult life and through different things, mistakes made, was learning that importance of delegation and people first, having the right team. So understanding when we say focus in on one thing, doesn't mean one thing that you're taking on for all these different things and you're doing yourself. It means, how do you build your network? How do you build your talent? How do you build your strategy and idea to have those pieces that all come together?
Every one of them talked about the importance of the proper team, having people that surrounded them that were smarter than they were at things that they weren't that good at. They all mentioned they spent a lot of time on things they loved doing. Now that may be because now at that point in their career, they can do that, where the rest of us maybe need a little bit more focus on the proper steps, which I think is one of the chapters in my books, at least in my millionaire books, kind of the proper steps that they laid out to take. And a lot of people ask me, well, you know, should I invest first, or should I pay off my debt first, or should I save first, or should I, what's the order, right?
Yeah.
Because everybody's like, oh my gosh, I'm not really sure I'm doing the right thing. And so you have to get with people smarter than you, that have done it, that have started with zero, came from nothing, and most importantly, as I told Pamela, still have it.
Yes.
There's all kinds of people out there that profess to have $1 million on paper, and they have $3 million of loans. And so it all looks good on paper, but if you don't have that money, so what are the proper steps? So I always say, ask a friend for help that's good. Take a little risk, don't take too big a risk. Keep learning and stop doing useless things. Now, what are useless things? Well, just letting stuff fly, okay? Not keeping track of your finances, having no short-term goals, and just disconnecting from people that aren't as wise as what you know you need to get around. Pamela and I talked about that. It really has to do with your associations, and every one of these 18 multimillionaires talked about their associations, who they allow inside their sphere. And I don't mean that, none of them meant it mean, like, I'm not going to be your friend or anything like that. It was not like that. It was like, they wanted people around them who were also successful. And a big part of their success is giving back to those people, because that's some of the building blocks of the super successful people, is that they have plans in place to help others around them become successful too. It's always about giving back. And they all described the giving back a different way. They also all talked about payoff plan. A payoff plan. Now, there's very few of us, we all want to talk about it, but they talked about how they paid off their debts and got to the point where they actually lent, didn't borrow. And they say, it's very clear, almost everybody out there is really good at spending and really not good at saving. So let's talk about how you build this wealth. I say, after learning from them, you have to learn how to save first. You can't be really good at investing and say, well, I'll get to that saving part later. And I think that, some people will tell me that saving is investing. Okay. And none of them mentioned this one thought that I came up with, which was, who do you know that gets in trouble for having too much savings? Think about that. Don't know anybody. But who do you know, look around you, that probably gets in a little trouble for having too much spending going on?
Yeah, that's true.
That's true. Yeah.
Well, and it's a balance too. It's like learning to, after you get to that saving, when to take the leap into investing and what risks to take. And also your investments aligning with your core values and your family value of what you're trying to give back, right?
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
we've seen a lot of shifts lately, and with social impact vesting, with investing in next generation entrepreneurship and individuals, that people to people, which I personally am a big fan of, for my part of my core values, because I've had really great mentors and people that have believed in me, and so I believe in somebody else. But I also know what it's like to start with $500 to my name and not be able to afford a place to live when I'm getting started, and that's called grit, right? So I'm curious, like, that common denominator, like personality trait, core value of really successful millionaires. Did you see anything when you were interviewing, or hear anything that you can share with us?
Yep. I drilled right down when we were with Pamela the last time, the 3 commonalities, similarities, habits, patterns, traits, systems, and methods that they all had. They only had 3, okay, that they all had. Okay. And the number one was, which is nobody really wants to hear about, and it's the first chapter in the book, the miracle of hard work. Everybody wants to think that there's some magic bullet, and it is just, every one of them, they pounded me with it, these million experts. You've got to outwork your competitors. You got to get in early, work late, and outwork everybody in between. Now that is, people want this magic message. Oh, can't you just tell me like one little thing that I can do and I'll be a millionaire? No, it doesn't work like that. Second thing they had was, and I described this in detail because in my personal business, I don't probe into religion, politics, your money, your spouse, or your ego. I stay off those items, but everything else is kind of okay to talk about if it comes up. So these people all brought this one core value up to me, and I didn't bring it up to them. And I call it out in the book as this higher power that drives them. And some called it religion, God, Christianity, and it was kind of faith, and some just called it a higher power that drove them. And they all kind of use it a different way. Some said they don't make a decision without praying on it. Some just said they know that this guiding power over them has brought them in the right direction. And the third thing that they all talked about, which is really, really important, is the ability to delay gratification until later. So they all had those 3. Now what that means is that you don't spend money on stuff now that you think you might need later. And consequently, they all talked about getting rid of stuff that you presently own and either putting it in savings, paying off things, or investing it. Because we all have a whole bunch of crap. We're really good at saving. If you look at the store and lock facility, that whole industry, they're everywhere because people just keep buying and saving and buying and saving. And they haven't gone to these facilities for months or years with their crap sitting in there that they could sell and get themselves quicker to be the millionaire status, which what everybody wants. So those are the three simplistic things that they all had. Now, lots of other traits that they had are really fun to see. They're really characters. I mean, and they love to joke around and they're having a great time. They make you absolutely cry with laughter because they just see the world's so different. I say they have an extra gene or they're missing a gene. I don't know what it is in their pool makeup, their whole DNA. You can't quite describe how these people are. And they're not running around saying, oh, my way is the only way. In fact, they all said, this is just how I did it. There's probably lots of other ways to do it. And none of them did it the same way. They all made their millions a different way, which gives us all hope, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it's kind of like weight loss. You know, everybody has to find their program that works. Not everybody, what works for me would work for Stephanie because of her lifestyle, right? And her family. I don't have to cook for children anymore. You know what I always watch people that sell their in my personal life, sell their weight loss program and see if they still have their weight off in a year. Because you have to go through all the holidays, all through stress, work, and then you kind of get a feel, okay, this might work. But if they do it right away, I'm thinking, okay, I'm just going to wait. Because you'll see you find out if it's really a lifestyle. And it's just a 90-day quick. All right, let's get back to that. So you're interviewing them, and they're just your average people, correct? Did you reflect on yourself saying, ooh, I don't do that, or I should be doing, what exactly did you think while you were interviewing them? Like, wow, these average people knew what the heck they were talking about. Of course you knew that, but what did you think about yourself?
That's a great question. What I came to do is while I was talking to a lot of them were over the phone because that was the only way that I could catch them. And so what I did was I put a big mirror in front of myself so I could not escape the fact that this was going to come home to roost on me. Because you can learn a whole bunch of stuff, but if you're not going to take the advice, why get advice? They all talked about having experts that give them advice, but it's only worth what you pay for. Yeah. Okay? So I can't give you this book because you won't see much value if I give it to you. But if I sell you the book, guess what happens? You'll see the value. And that's what I learned the most from what they told me was, whoa, I'm not doing that. I didn't do that. No wonder why I screwed that up. Well, it's really clear to me why I messed that up over there. I didn't follow through. And that's one of their huge success secrets that they had. They talked about follow through, and some of them were really good golfers, okay? So and this goes to association, if you play with really great golfers, your golf game will elevate. It will elevate and will get better and better. Consequently, if you play with crappy players, you'll take on all of their crappy habits and you'll have the worst game ever because you associated with those people. And those people, the crappy golfers have what's called bad follow through. They don't follow through with a golf club after they hit the ball. It's the same thing with most people that aren't successful. They just hit the ball. They don't follow through and try to learn something about why they're not being a success. And people in general, they just kind of give up after they fall down. They're not getting back up. And that's what successful people do, is they just get back up and they don't do, what the rest of us, I'm sorry, including me, have done and are still making mistakes. They just found a way, a pathway, as you called it, a commonality.
Well, I like that you brought up golf. I do think golf teaches you a lot about life, a lot about people, And you can always, you can pick up your ball and go to the next one and say, okay, I can see where I did wrong. You can analyze yourself. And you can have a terrible front nine, and then the back nine, you're like, woohoo, as long as you finish strong, right? And then everything in between. Who remembers what you had in the 14th and 9th hole? You know what I'm saying? I do believe that. And when you get on and where you lose it is in those short, on the green, is where you lose a lot of your score. The closer, because you're right there, and I don't know how many people say that, this is where you're going to lose it. And people are really good at, you're as close as you can get with the 4 people you are golfing with, and they can give you advice. Now let's talk about that vision right there. The 5, what do you think about hanging out with people more successful? And like you said, better golfers, I do better when I'm with better golfers. I try harder. I don't want to, I'm like, I got to hit this thing as hard as I can, or listen to them. I always feel like I'm with pros when I'm with better golfers. I'm like, you guys are a lot better. All right, so let's talk about the people, like you said, the 5 people you talk to on a daily basis. What is their thoughts on that, hanging out with people that are more successful?
A lot of the millionaires held up their phone to me and they said, look at your last 5 people you talked to the most, take their average income, and yours will be 5 to 10% of their average. So if you want to make more money, you may need to be on the phone with different people. I'm not saying your friends aren't important. Your relationships are really important. Don't get me wrong. Mm-hmm. But if you're spending a lot of time with people that are broke, what do you think you're going to end up being? That goes back to that golf thing. If you play with a bunch of jokesters that are talking when you're hitting the ball, they're not following the etiquette and the rule. And you wonder why at the end you had, 200 shots on 9 holes and everybody's laughing at your scorecard because you just have a terrible round of golf. It's because of your associations. Yeah. And,
All right, so we have 5 minutes left. I want to ask you really quickly before Stephanie asks us the last question.
I got 2 more, Pam. Sorry.
All right, well, you know what? I just want to know, we can go a little bit over, just maybe 5 minutes, but Mark, what are people saying reading the book? What are they giving you? I'm sure you have friends that have read it. I'm reading your compliment one for my speech first, and then I'll get to that one. But that's another book of yours, and I wanted to share. Steph, you did a whole book on compliments, how important they are and stuff. It's an amazing book. And it's helping with my speech. But what are you hearing? What are you hearing from your friends?
I got 2 messages this morning on Facebook from people that are reading it. And, big thumbs up, great book, changing a lot of my personal financial habits that I knew I needed to do, but I just needed somebody to kick my butt that was really smart to say, hey, stop doing what's not working and start doing what is working. We all kind of know. We all kind of know, right, Pamela?
Yeah, it's hard work. Being a better golfer is hard work. It's like...
It is hard work. It is hard work. I used to play every single day golf, okay? And I got to the point of where I could almost tell where the next shot was going to go because I'd played it so many times. And I think it's the same thing in life and in your personal life and your business life. If you're making the right moves and you're doing the right things, you can almost predict what your outcome is going to be.
I know.
And so,
everybody goes, you should take some lessons. I'm like, thanks.
Well,
I agree. I'm going to take some putting lessons before in March. All right, Steph. Sorry to dominate because I think he's I can't wait to share this with everyone. So go ahead.
Well, first I'm going to buy the book. Second, not to digress back, but something that you just said about taking a look at who you're talking to. Keep in mind at Undercover Millionaires, you did, what people love is questions, right? And like when you don't know who you're talking to, I've had the pleasure of meeting many people that I too would never have thought by first glance or blush or sitting down. I wasn't sitting down with them because they had money. I didn't know. But then when you get to ask questions, don't be so judgmental, right? Because I know a lot of really smart farmers that if they're going to the local watering hole and they're just having fun and talking about business, no one would ever think, but some of the most wealthy people in life, right, aren't necessarily by first glance. So take the time as a human to get to know people and ask really freaking good questions, because we all love people who ask good questions. Is that in there?
Let me tell you, here's the line. It's in my book. You'll
Yeah.
be paid in direct proportion to the quality of the questions you ask. Boom! Right there you go.
Well, Mark, how's our questions?
Where can we buy this book? How can we tap in? Mark Gleason. Tell me today. I got to do it. I'm going on now. Where are we going?
You go to Undercover Millionaire on Facebook, and you'll be talking right to me. You can ask any questions you want, and I'll answer as best I can. If I don't know the answer, I'll get it from one of the 18 experts.
You're amazing.
Thank
you
you
so much. This is
So
great.
before we end up, I want to really finish too. So what'd you think about our questions? I mean,
Great
are
questions.
we doing good? Okay.
Great questions. Keep up the good work.
All right. Thank you so much for being here. Have a great day.
Yep. Everybody have a great day.
Right. This is Pamela Keim from Tap In Podcast. I'm going to say goodbye to Stephanie Kolakowski from Grow Business Today. Mark Gleason, who's wrote the book Undercover Millionaire. Find him on the social media, on his platform, social media, Facebook, to get that book. You're going to learn a lot. Take care, everybody. I'll see you next time.
Bye.